with so many originators out there engaging in desk riddles, MSAs, there's been a visibility shift from a regulator's perspective on this. So, how does the CFPB see this, and what do loan officers need to do to be careful here?
So those are really good questions and really important questions. And let's break it down between MSAs and desk rentals. There's been a proliferation of marketing services agreements in this particular industry. And I get calls on a daily basis asking if I can enter into this type of a marketing arrangement or that type of a marketing arrangement, and always pointing out that it's very competitive out there, and many others are perfectly willing to enter into any type of marketing arrangement they can get with a realtor, with a builder, anyone else, so they can lock in that particular business. There really hasn't been any shift in the manner in which regulators look at marketing services agreements. And they look at those agreements with a lot of suspicion. It actually goes all the way back to 2010. In 2010, when HUD was responsible for RESPA enforcement, that agency issued an interpretive rule. That's a rule that doesn't go through notice and comment rulemaking. It's a rule that says this has always been the way it is, and we just want to remind you about it. And in that interpretive rule, it dealt with a situation of real estate agents selling home warranty policies and saying that what they were really doing was in fact marketing these home warranty companies. And there were all kinds of problems with that particular transaction. So HUD put in the interpretive rule that those transactions don't work. It was not really marketing. They were getting paid on a closed transaction basis every time they sold a policy, and all of those types of things are problematic. But HUD took the opportunity to go further and say, listen, when a builder or a settlement service provider like a real estate company, when they get into the marketing business, first of all, we wonder why they get into that particular business, because that is not really what they were created for. That is not why they incorporated, and that's not their main line of business itself. But they're in it, and now they're marketing. So what does that mean, and how do we, the regulator, distinguish that marketing from really just being paid for a referral itself? And in this interpretive rule, what HUD laid out was a policy that said, listen, you cannot have a real estate agent, a real estate broker, a builder, just marketing your services. So if you're a mortgage company, just marketing your mortgage company to their own customers, because they're in a position of control. They're in a position where their clients look to them for advice on who to use and for advice and guidance and things along those particular lines. So what HUD said was, yeah, you can enter into a marketing services agreement, but it's got to be for real, distinct, necessary marketing services that goes to the general public itself. They went so far as to say if you're marketing out of a model home, for example, or if you're marketing out of an open house, then you're just marketing to specific customers, and that would be no more than a referral, which would be a violation of Section 8. But if you're marketing and it's reaching the general public, so for example, if a real estate brokerage company has a website and you as a lender want to put a banner ad on that website, that's marketing that's going to reach the general public, because people that are looking for homes, people that may not have a relationship with that particular broker, they're all going to be looking at that particular site as they look for homes in certain communities, and even as they look to hire a real estate agent or a real estate broker themselves. So if it's general, in fact, you go to the general public, an MSA will be okay. And that's the way the regulators continue to look at it now. Now, the CFPB is in the midst of a couple of very large investigations of marketing services agreements and lenders and other settlement service providers that are involved in those particular agreements. And they look at it with a view toward whether or not marketing is in fact geared to the general public, or whether you're really just paying for a warm handoff or a referral itself, which would be a Section 8 violation. The other thing that is absolutely critical to know about marketing services agreements are that whatever services are being done, you have to know what the correct value is to pay for those services. Because under Section 8 of RESPA, no one can pay for, no one can receive a thing of value for the referral of settlement service business. So if you're paying too much, or you're getting paid too much for the marketing services that are being provided, the excess will be deemed to be a referral fee itself. So what you really need to do when you structure these marketing services agreements is go out to third-party experts, experts in marketing, in advertising, to get the services that are being provided valued, so you know that you're paying, or if you're on the receiving end, you're receiving the right amount just for marketing itself. That's what marketing services are really about, and those types of arrangements are okay. And the CFPB has not come out and said those are not okay. HUD, prior to this, in fact, affirmatively stated in their interpretive rule that would be just fine. Just make sure it doesn't go to specific customers, it goes to the general population itself. Those are marketing services agreements. Now, desk rentals is another story as well, and that's also nothing new to regulators as well. In fact, if you go way back to 1996, HUD issued a policy statement in which they addressed desk rentals. And what they said about desk rentals was it's perfectly fine for one settlement service provider, such as a lender, to rent space in another settlement service provider's office, such as a real estate brokerage office. It's okay to do that, but the test as to whether or not it is legitimate is whether the lender, in this particular instance, is paying what HUD called the general market rent. Not the fair market rent, the general market rent. And so you ask, what is general market rent? And the test is the same amount of money that a non-settlement service provider would pay for that particular space. In other words, there's no value being attributed to the fact that you're sitting in a realtor's office so you can get referrals from that particular realtor. So maybe a barbershop wanted to open up in that space. How much would they pay for that? What does that translate to? That translates to really square footage. What is the square foot value of the space that you're taking up? That's really the only way you can do it. And by the way, the CFPB is active in this particular area because it wasn't too long ago, it was in January, that they entered into an agreement, consent order, following their enforcement investigation with a lender and their president, finding them both jointly and severally liable because they said that the lender had, in fact, paid too much for the desk rental. So they had to pay a civil money penalty of $54,000, and they had to disgorge any origination fees that they had collected for loans that they originated coming through that desk rental itself. So this is an area that is of high visibility. The CFPB is looking at it, and they've already taken at least one public action along those particular lines. So be careful. The other thing that you need to be aware of is if you're an independent mortgage banker and you set up a desk rental arrangement in a broker shop, many states, in fact most states, will say you better license your space over there as a branch if you're going to be taking applications out of that particular space. So that's just another thing to be careful about.